We have breaking news. New court documents reveal that singer David is officially a murder suspect, and there is a criminal case being pursued against him in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And unfortunately, these documents also reveal apparent new and disturbing details about her dismembered body. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. By the way, if you're into content creation, if you're putting things out on social media, have you ever wondered how we're able to share so many of these clips so quickly on all of these rapidly developing stories? I'll give you a secret. Well, it's actually not a secret anymore. I'm about to tell you about it. Opus Clip. It's an all-in-one AI editor that makes it so easy to cut, create, and upload videos across any platform. Through AI, Opus Clip generates B-roll, it reframes footage, and it even cleans up audio. It is so easy. Just visit opus.pro/sidebar. You sign up, you upload, and in minutes you will have perfectly edited clips ready to go. For TikTok, Shorts, Reels, Opus Clip is really your one-stop shop. And having a tool like Opus Clip means that our producers can get you viral courtroom updates instantly. This is the most powerful tool there is to share ideas and edit like a pro. So go to opus.pro/sidebar to get a free week and then 50% off. All right, this is a big update in the continuing case of the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose body was found in the trunk of a car allegedly registered to singer David back in September out in LA. We have been following this case religiously. There have been no arrests, there have been no charges. Well, there have been arrests, but not in connection with the actual, let's say, killing of Celeste or the removal of her body. There was an arrest in terms of somebody being brought there to testify. But here's the big part. You've heard reports of a grand jury being impaneled. You've heard reports of David being considered a suspect, but nothing official. There has been so much that authorities haven't been revealing about this investigation. But right now, Steve Fisher, the private investigator who had been investigating this case on the ground, demanding justice, who may have testified in front of the grand jury himself, by the way, although we can't officially confirm that. And by the way, he represents the owner of the house where David was reportedly staying near where the Tesla was found. He just dropped not only huge bombshells about this case on X, but he just gave us 150 pages of court filings that have revealed a lot of new information. We have learned more about Celeste's body, and we have learned that there is a real case against David for murder. So let me lay out first what he posted on X, and then we'll discuss the actual filings. First, Steve wrote, in a petition for attendance to compel David family members to appear before a grand jury, it's disclosed that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's head and torso were found in a cadaver bag, her severed arms and legs in a second bag. David Burke, meaning David, is the target of the grand jury for one count of murder. And when you read from the screenshots that he posted, and we'll talk about this more from the actual filing, people of the state of California v. David Burke. Nathan Hochman at the top, so that's the LA County District Attorney. Beth Silverman is the Assistant DA. We've mentioned her too, so this is confirming there is a real case. They are the prosecutors, including her. Saw her coming in and out of court before. And then the filing states that there is now pending in the Superior Court of the County of Los Angeles the above entitled grand jury investigation by the state of California against target David Burke, wherein target may be involved in having committed the following criminal offenses against the laws of the state of California, to wit, one count of murder. This is big. This is big because it was always a question of whether or not they were really investigating him and gathering evidence regarding a murder charge. And when I looked it up, when I looked up that penal code under California law, murder is the unlawful killing of a human being or a fetus with malice aforethought, basically an intentional killing. So while there were theories out there that, let's say, Celeste had died as an accident, let's say Celeste died from a drug overdose and there was a panic and there was just an instance of trying to dismember her body or dispose of her body or hide her body. Remember, at one point you heard from authorities maybe there was nothing beyond just the removal of her body that was being investigated. Maybe that was the only charge. Not the case. Now they believe they have enough evidence to support a murder charge, that he intentionally killed her. And then it goes on to say how you have the three witnesses summoned by California are DeWood, Colleen, and Caleb Burke. So his dad, his mom, and his younger adult-age brother. And the information that's attached to Steve Fisher's tweet is in reference to DeWood Burke's court paperwork, and it says, quote, that if DeWood Burke comes into the state of California in obedience to a summons directing him to attend and testify at said grand jury investigation, the laws of the state of California and of any other state through which he may be required to pass by the ordinary course of travel to attend such proceeding shall give him protection from arrest and the service of process, civil or criminal, in connection with matters which arose before his entrance into said state pursuant to such summons, that DeWood Burke is an adult, that the prosecution will provide the witness a round-trip airplane ticket and transportation to and from the airport, wherefore it is requested for on behalf of the state of California that your honor certify to the above and foregoing by the issuance of a certificate thereto under the seal of the Superior Court of Record in the state of California to compel the attendance of DeWood Burke as a witness at the grand jury investigation on the date and time set forth pursuant to law. Basically, outlining that he is needed to be a witness in this case, and that if he follows it and he shows up, he's not going to be arrested and charged. Got this other post from Steve. Quote, court transcripts show that detectives from the LAPD Robbery Homicide Division were in Texas to escort David's parents to Los Angeles to testify about what they know about the suspicion that their son murdered and dismembered a 14-year-old girl. #monster, #Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And Steve also posted a portion of a transcript for me. Texas court, where attorneys for the Burkes were arguing that their clients wanted to make sure that everything was in order and they knew about everything before they went to Los Angeles. And we're going to talk about this more, but that part of the transcript reads, and again, LAPD detectives are here to make sure they get a flight, they get a hotel, they get room and lodging, that it will not cause undue hardship to them, and that the court issue those subpoenas on behalf of California. And then the judge says, okay, Mr. Martinez, yes, Your Honor, if I may just take a step back and advise the court of what we actually received this afternoon. Okay, we received from the state, at the request of the state of California, a subpoena for Colleen and DeWood Burke, a certification from a judge in California where it states that there is an affidavit attached from the Assistant District Attorney of Los Angeles, and we have the attestation from the clerk, and we have an affidavit from an Assistant District Attorney in Los Angeles, but it has been redacted. Now, I'm going to get more into exactly why this is significant in just a second. By the way, as we think about them testifying, what would they testify? We'll talk about that too. But also, would they plead the fifth, right? Something to think about. Here's another post from Steve. Quote, a Waller County, Texas court compelled David's parents and brother to travel to Los Angeles to appear before the grand jury on February 11th, 2026. That decision was appealed, and a writ of habeas corpus was then filed on February 3rd, which was denied. It appears they have appeared before the judge, most likely invoking the fifth, but that is speculation on my part, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So see, he thinks the same thing I do. And that tweet included part of a court document which reads, the court ordered Mr. Burke to appear before the California grand jury on February 11, 2026. A writ of habeas corpus was filed on February 3rd. The writ challenged the ex parte nature of the proceeding, meaning one-sided, deprivation of due process, incorrect application of Article 24.28, and incorrect finding that Mr. Burke's testimony was material and necessary. The court denied the writ on the merits. Again, we're going to talk all about that. But to cap off these bombshell revelations about the David case, Steve actually shared more than 150 pages from Texas courts laying out what happened. And with that file came a long statement from this private investigator. Quote, Celeste Rivas Hernandez deserves better. It's infuriating that we're approaching 6 months and no charges have been filed in her murder. If the evidence hasn't been secured by now, what exactly is happening? Is this a blown investigation? We now know these monsters sawed off Celeste's arms and legs. Let's not call it dismemberment. That word sounds clinical, like a surgeon removed her limbs. This is not what happened. A vicious, sick group of people brutally hacked her arms and legs off her body. Was she alive when they started? And yes, I am using plural terms because in my professional opinion, there is no way one person did this alone, whether participating directly or acting as an accessory. Yet only one individual is named as a target in the court filings. Like you, Neo Christopher Langston, you knew. I've seen family members publicly defend him and threaten lawsuits against anyone who names him. Sue me, I beg you, please sue me. Give me subpoena power. Give me the power of discovery, because that may be the only way the truth comes out. I beg of you, file that defamation suit. How do people like David, Neo, and Asia live with themselves. 6 months, no charges, no press conference. But LAPD and the district attorney's office did issue a press release stating they had the medical examiner's autopsy and investigative findings sealed so detectives could review them first, claiming it was not meant to undermine transparency. They got that information, yet the records remain sealed. That press release misled the public. That press release was a lie. Another press release suggested the only potential criminal culpability might be concealment of a body. Talked about that before. They said that knowing Celeste's arms and legs had been sawed off. You came out with that press release knowing what had been done to her? If they do not have enough evidence to charge those responsible, then they need to say that plainly. Admit that after nearly 6 months, the investigation has not produced sufficient evidence to charge David Anthony Burke or anyone else who participated or was an accessory. Admit it's a blown investigation. Admit that important evidence was left behind after the search warrant. Admit that critical surveillance was lost because nobody followed up to obtain it. Celeste's head and torso were placed in one cadaver bag. Her arms and legs were placed in another. Someone purchased cadaver bag, cut her apart, placed her remains inside those bags, put her in the trunk of a Tesla, and went on with their lives. They purchased cadaver bags. They went to the extent of purchasing cadaver bags. And still, 6 months later, there are no charges, no accountability, silence, sealed records. Threaten me with contempt all you want. I will proudly take that contempt charge for the pursuit of justice for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. 6 months is enough. Do your sworn duty or admit the case was failed. We need to let the LAPD and the DA's office know we are mad and this is not acceptable, and I wish her family would do the same. Here is the full 151-page court filing for anyone willing to read it. David Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Well, I'll tell you, we read through it and we're going to go through it, but obviously he's upset, understandably so. And while we do not know what is going on behind the scenes and whether or not they are about to issue an indictment and whether or not anyone's about to be arrested, you can understand his frustration and how long this is going on. And if it seems that it's just David they may be going after. But I want to go through these court documents, try to make sense of what we're seeing. So, first, we have this petition on behalf of DeWood Burke. Again, this is David's father. We've talked about this before. It's an unusual filing. It's a habeas petition. Usually you see habeas petitions when someone's already been convicted, they're in prison, they're trying to say that their detention's unlawful, that there's new evidence that's come out, they're trying to get their conviction thrown out, a new trial. So this one's a little different. But basically the argument is they're saying that the family member's rights are being violated, to have to testify, to be compelled to be transported to another state to provide testimony. And this was filed out in Waller County, Texas. There was an order from January 18th for Colleen Burke, the mother here, to appear before the Texas court to explain why she shouldn't have to appear before the grand jury in LA, why she shouldn't have to comply with the subpoena. You go to page 13, I want to bring your attention to this actual subpoena that was issued to DeWood Burke from Nathan Hockman, signed by Beth Silverman, ordering DeWood to appear before the grand jury in LA on February 11th. So you're not even just seeing Steve's interpretation of the filings. You're actually seeing it. These are actual court documents, and in this subpoena, it is explained to DeWood that the grand jury is secret. Don't tell anyone about this, other than your attorney. Page 15, there's a court document. It's from Judge Craig Richmond, judge of the Superior Court in LA, certifying there is a grand jury proceeding in the case of David Burke, that Beth Silverman is requesting DeWood to appear and provide material and necessary testimony. What could that be? Well, we don't know exactly for sure, though. I'll get a little bit more into it. Maybe it's just the family saying, yeah, that was his Tesla. It was registered to him. But again, going back, that DeWood would get round-trip airline tickets, transportation. But now I want to get into the document that Steve took a screenshot of. It is a petition for attendance of out-of-state witness. They were filed for Colleen, Caleb, and DeWood, with the main crux of the filings being the same, but there's some slight differences that we'll get into. But this is the real details about the case that we want to get into. Quote, it is alleged in this case that the target may be involved in the death of 14-year-old victim Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who may have been a victim of foul play. Her severely decomposed, dismembered body, there was a mixed reporting on whether it was dismembered body, was found in the front trunk of Target's Tesla on September 8th, 2025. On September 8th, 2025, at approximately 10:30 hours, Los Angeles Police Department detectives received a phone call from the manager of Hollywood Area Official Police Garage. The manager stated a black Tesla Model X had been impounded as an abandoned vehicle by the Department of Transportation on September 5th, 2025. The manager told police there was a strong smell of decay coming from the vehicle, which was attracting flies. LAPD detectives responded to the Hollywood tow yard to investigate. investigate. Detectives approached the vehicle, which was parked on the upper deck of the impound lot, and immediately noticed the smell of decaying biological material consistent with a decomposing corpse coming from the front storage compartment of the vehicle. Detectives obtained a search warrant for the vehicle, and when the front storage compartment was opened, detectives observed a black cadaver bag covered with insects and a strong odor of decay. Utilizing black latex gloves, detectives partially unzipped the bag and observed a decomposed head and torso. Investigators and criminalists from the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner responded to the tow yard to process the decomposed body. Upon removing the cadaver bag from the front storage compartment, it was discovered the arms and legs had been severed from the body. A second black bag was discovered underneath the cadaver bag. Upon opening the second bag, the dismembered body parts were discovered. Detectives were advised that on August 26, 2025, a citizen reported the above-mentioned Tesla as an abandoned vehicle parked across from 1405 Bluebird Street. On August 27, 2025, Department of Transportation officers responded to Bluebird and marked the vehicle. On September 3, 2025, Department of Transportation returned to the vehicle and issued a citation. On September 5, 2025, Department of Transportation impounded the vehicle to Hollywood Area Tow. It was noted that the Tesla was registered to target David Anthony Burke in Hempstead, Texas. David, who was a singer and performing artist, was on tour at the time his vehicle was impounded. And then the next section is different for each witness, so you have differences between affidavits seen further down, like Caleb. Detectives learn that Caleb Burke is the younger brother of target David Burke and has a close relationship with him. Detectives learn that Colleen Burke is the mother of target David Burke and has a close relationship with him. Per several witnesses, she is instrumental to his career success and manages his business finances. Detectives learn that DeWood Burke is the father of target David Burke and has a close relationship with him. And then there's a large chunk of text that is redacted too. Just want to make note of that. From there, we have this application for writ of habeas corpus. So the basic argument is that under Texas law, a court can only force a resident to testify in another state after there is a meaningful hearing, a meaningful notice, that the argument is DeWood, and maybe everybody else here, the other family members, never saw the full documents that would justify them going to LA to have to testify, that there's not enough to justify them going there. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole legal argument, but you get the main idea that no one should be confined or restrained, especially imprisoned, if they don't comply with a subpoena unless they have meaningful notice, a meaningful understanding of what all this is about. But later on, you'll see there was an order by the court where that writ of habeas corpus was denied. Now there's more, but those are some of the pertinent parts we have so far up to page 50. We go further into this filing. There's a section in this filing called Transcripts and Exhibits. This is important. I want to talk about this. And it contains the petitions to appear again, as well as transcripts from multiple hearings. So the first hearing was in Waller County, Texas on January 23rd, 2026. And this one only concerned Colleen and Caleb. They were there, not DeWood for some reason. Plus you had two LAPD homicide detectives who could testify if it was needed. Mia Magnus represented Texas as well as California, basically by proxy. She told the court, quote, "So Judge, I'm stepping into this last minute as well, but my understanding is that there is a grand jury investigation that is being conducted in California and Los Angeles County. These two individuals have been summoned to appear for purposes of the grand jury presentation. The prosecutors in Los Angeles have executed all of the paperwork that is necessary. It has gone before, I believe they call them, the Superior Court judge there, who has signed off and done all the necessary certifications. And so under Texas law, Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 24.28, which is the Uniform Act to secure attendance of witnesses from without the state, are now before you for the court to make a determination that California has complied with the rules that would authorize a Texas court, you being a district court judge, to review the paperwork and then order that these witnesses appear before the grand jury in California." Then you had Kent Schaefer, who represents David's mother, had this to say, quote, "So on behalf of Colleen Burke, our position is that the request or the summons and the request for issuance of the subpoena is unconstitutional in violation of the Texas and the United States constitutions in that it denies the witness, Colleen Burke, notice and due process inasmuch as Article 24.28 Section B, which governs, says that the court has to make a determination that the witness is material and necessary and that it will not cause undue hardship to be compelled to attend and testify. All we have been served with so far is a notice to appear here today, so it is virtually impossible for us to address materiality and necessity when we don't even know what the subject matter is that would be explored with our client." But Magnus argued that the determination about materiality of these witnesses, that was already made by a California judge. So all the Texas judge needs to do was just make sure the paperwork was all in order, tell the witnesses they need to go. And the judge says that actually, since this was so last minute, he doesn't even have any of that paperwork. So they end up deciding to reschedule the hearing for several days later. And at that February 2nd hearing in Texas, you have Colleen, Caleb, and DeWood. They were all there with counsel. Bennett Dodson is the assistant DA of Waller County, told the court, I don't think it's a secret to anyone at this point that Mr. David Burke is a musician who's quite famous, and this matter concerns a car that was registered to him at these witnesses' address here in Houston that had a dismembered, decomposing body in it. I would say if a car with a dismembered, decomposing body is registered to your home address, that is something you should expect to be questioned by the authorities about, and that's what this is, Judge. So there you go. There you go. That's probably what they'd be forced to testify about. But the attorneys for David's family members argued that everyone involved in both California and Texas courts, the judges, the prosecutors, they had seen the unredacted affidavit. But their clients, they only got the redacted version, so it's limited. And they want to know what's in that. They want to know what's in that big blacked out section of the petitions. And again, goes back to the legal argument, hey, we have a right to know what this is all about under habeas before relinquishing our freedom, right, to go and have to testify. So you had Dodson say that most of that information in the affidavit's not a secret. It's already known to the public, saying, quote, it's all over TMZ. Goes on to say, the redacted information concerns knowledge that is only known to the grand jury, period. It has not been distributed anywhere. What was the judge's decision? Here's from the court, quote, but even when I look at it myself, I still think these witnesses are material and necessary because of the relationship that's involved with the witnesses and the defendant. So my ruling is going to be that they are to go to California and honor the subpoena by California. And the judge read out an official summons to Colleen, DeWood, Caleb, with Caleb scheduled to appear before the grand jury on February 10th, DeWood, Colleen, February 11th, with LA prosecutors paying for the round-trip airline tickets and transportation to and from court for all three. There you go. Some new information. Seemingly some confirmations of material that we haven't had in quite some time. Obviously, we will stay on this case as we learn more. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock. We got Sidebar episodes up there too. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. See you next time, everybody.